Appreciate you streaming on in with us here on Birds 365. You got your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. And the Eagle green screen behind me does not signify that I went down to Ocean Casino and lost my shirt. So I was refusing to go back to Ocean Casino. It does not signify that I went down to Ocean Casino and couldn't lose and cleaned them out. And they said, the hell with it. We're not sponsoring McDonald's anymore. No.
Cleaned them out. Yeah.
It didn't go either way. Yeah, they didn't clean me out. I didn't clean them out. I just screwed up my computer this morning. So some technical difficulties. We are sponsored, as always, by the great folks at Ocean Casino. We thank them much for the support of the show. We thank you guys for streaming in here with us on Birds 365. Oh, by the way, if you want, you go ahead and hit that like button. Despite the fact that I'm not down Ocean Casino, you can still like the show. You can like what either I or John or both of us are saying. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe here on Birds 365. All right, Johnny, I teased this before we went to break. And our buddy Mike Gill's going to join us coming up in about 25 minutes from now. We usually have Mike on Wednesdays. He's going to jump in a day early for us. Thank him from down the shore, hopping on with us on a Tuesday. He'll be here in about 25 minutes. Howie Roseman, outstanding job this year. By hook or by crook, he was behind the selection of Jalen Hurts 2 years ago when they took him in the second round, much to the chagrin of a lot of Eagle fans and backers and media members who said, what's he doing wasting? Several guys, you talk about going back and looking up old articles or old YouTube shows or whatever else. Oh, I guarantee you there were media members who described the selection of Jalen Hurts in the second round as wasting a second-round pick at worst. At best, a luxury item. Where would the hell would the Eagles be without Jalen Hurts right about now? No, Howie Roseman et al., his coaching staff, Jeff Lloyd, a lot of people in on the decision, decided to take Jalen Hurts, and they're reaping the benefits of it right now. This offseason, he made the major trade for A.J. Brown, and has he lived up to expectations or what? Yeah, Howie Roseman's gotten a lot right this year. But we always have to look forward. We always have to worry about what's coming down the road tomorrow. Eagles are in a precarious position, and that, John, you and I have discussed about your window of opportunity. How open is your window of opportunity to make the playoffs, to go deep in the playoffs, to get to a Super Bowl, to win a Super Bowl? Oh, the window's wide open for the Philadelphia Eagles right here, right now, this year. Can they keep the window open? They've got their quarterback in place, guaranteed for another year, at least another 2 years, because they always go franchise tag, which, oh, by the way, there's another thing I never mentioned before. The Eagles may be having to franchise tag Jalen Hurts. Nobody ever said that a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. No one talked along those lines. Oh, it's going to be talked about, because if they don't get a deal done when the season is over and done with, that's exactly what they're looking at it. No, by the way, would it bother you in the least if just taking away the fact that they couldn't get a contract done? But would you say, oh, no, you can't possibly think franchising Jalen Hurts is a good idea at the amount that the franchise tag is? You would have no problems with that, would you, J-Mac?
No, I would be shocked by it, just because it's not the way the Eagles do business, and they'll get something done. I would be more shocked by it if it got to that point. I can't even imagine it would get to that point. But, yeah, it's a mechanism you have. I just can't even fathom that being the way this goes. But that's just because of the way the Eagles typically do business.
Right, but don't the Eagles typically get a good number of their free agents, their core guys that they want to go forward with, done to contract extensions before you get to the end of a season?
Yeah, well, typically younger players. So the two players I've kind of focused on since the beginning are T.J. Edwards and Marcus Epps. The problem is, we talked about it before the break, you're usually not 11-1. You're usually not the best team in football, and everybody's playing at such a high level, and everybody's got this tremendous leverage. So what the Eagles are famous for, at least in the league, is for getting guys done early to team-friendly deals. It's difficult in this environment to get the team-friendly deal part of it done. The leverage just isn't there. There's certain things, and that's why I focused on TJ and Marcus as well, because the Eagles have developed them. They were both, TJ was undrafted. Marcus was a 6th-round pick in Minnesota, claimed on waivers. So, those are guys that were developed and have some loyalty to the organization. So I thought maybe they could get something done with them, but they're playing so well. Why are they going to take, significantly less money than they could potentially get? It's really difficult. It's really difficult for Howie this year, but he'll take the 11-1 and he'll get stuff done a little bit later. And, once you get to the, he'll get certain deals done, but with certain guys, if they get to the open market, they see what's out there, then you start pressing, look, go shopping for a ring again. We're this close. We're this. Who knows if they win the Super Bowl, you can say, come back and win another. And then you tap into that sort of sentiment.
All right. Since you said it with as much conviction as you did, Mr. McMullen, I don't have a problem putting you on the spot. Who are the guys? Give me you gave me 2 specific names. Do you want to say, oh, those will be the 2? Give me a minimum of 2 guys who are key defensive contributors right now. Did you say Howie Roseman? Jody, it's just a matter of time. It's not an if, it's a when. Who are those 2 guys?
Oh, those 2. It's not an if, it's a when. TJ and Marcus. They're going to get them done. And they're going to be back, and they're going to be part of this defense. They're young players. They're, still ascending in their careers. That's exactly what the Eagles, the more difficult decisions, and the 2 most difficult decisions are one of the guys I talked about with Tommy. James Bradberry's going to be a really difficult decision. Javon Hargrave's going to be a really difficult decision. Age factors into that, expense, other players you have. And with Bradberry, my God, how could he have a better season than this? You almost have to be honest with yourself and say, I gotta look up these numbers. He's been targeted 72 times, Jody. He's given up 32 receptions. That is a 44.4% completion percentage in a league that everybody's at 65 or 70%.
Right. Now you can't be a 60% quarterback anymore because you're not accurate enough. If you're at 60, you've got issues. You got problems. Bradberry's holding them to 44 and change.
44 and change. The longest play he's given up all year is 34 yards. The passer rating when opposing quarterbacks target him, 43.2. 43.2. I hope Groats is listening. I mean, he can't have another year like that. I mean, sometimes everybody has career years. You expect a regression to the mean. That is a difficult decision for the Eagles. And to be honest, I would lean towards James probably isn't going to be back for that reason. But boy, this year, enjoy it because he is just having an unbelievable season.
I'll play devil's advocate a little bit for you here. First thing first is sometimes you have to try and not injure yourself while patting yourself on the back. I lobbied heavily from James Bradberry when he was still under contract to the New York Giants because there were so many rumors floating in New York, and I got good New York contacts. The Giants have to cut somebody. They got to get their cap in order. They're screwed. They don't have the money to sign their draft picks. They got to do something. New regime, new general manager, no commitments, new coaching staff. And the name I kept hearing was Bradberry. They're going to move away from Bradberry. Bradberry didn't have as good a year last year as when they first signed him his first year in New York and gave a lot of money coming out of Carolina. And one of the knocks when I would bring it up here in Philadelphia, we don't have response here, our guys. We thank our streamers. But when I take calls on WIP, he's just a zone cornerback, Jody. If he's not in a zone scheme, then he's not as good a quarterback. He's not as great a man-to-man cornerback as you're stating. What do the Eagles play mostly in the secondary on defense, Johnny Mac?
All zone quarters, cover 2, cover 6, cover 8. Yeah, he's a perfect fit for what they do. Yeah, there's certain guys, and really, I see the same thing with Patrick Peterson in Minnesota. He's the only good part of that defense. Well, now him and Harrison Smith. There's a reason, because they're smart, they're savvy, they're veterans, and they play all the quarters in cover 2 and cover 6 and cover 8. Same thing the Eagles do. Well, you have James Bradberry, you have Darius Slay, you have these smart, savvy players. Yeah, they're perfect fits. I mean, I had to look at Slay. They've thrown at Slay 53 times, completed 27. So that's 50.9%.
Just over 50%.
In this era, 50.9%. And the passer rating when they throw at Slay is 53.2. 53.2. This is absurd, the cornerback play they're getting. And I don't know how you don't have a regression to the mean. And by the way, this defense stinks. Can we all say that? I mean, I don't know what these people want. How much better can you get than this defense is right now?
Don't understand
in the modern NFL.
But that's one of the reasons why I'm not closing the door on the possibility that Bradberry's coming back. Number one, he's not been good. He has been outrageously good. And how do you not make every effort to bring someone back who's a perfect fit for your defense and has been outrageously good? And maybe the other part, and he'll be the most expensive of all the ones we're talking about, as in ranking where they fit in at their position. Certain positions in the NFL get paid more than others. Cornerbacks are not on welfare or anything, but there are some other positions where it might get a little bit more costly. Here's the reason why I think they might go to extended levels to get Bradberry done. You got confidence in Zach Mack stepping in? We saw a little Zach Mack this past weekend.
No,
Mack,
I don't.
More at the safety position, but
that's one of the things.
At least with TJ Edwards, you got Nakobe Dean to probably step in. Javon Hargrave, you've got some depth on your defensive line and guys who are already here to potentially step in. Josh Jobe, he's been on the Eagles roster basically all year, right? How many times has he actually gotten into games to play from the line of scrimmage, Johnny Mack?
Wow.
TJ Gardner-Johnson, Blankenship's look damn good replacing him the last couple of weeks. Who's stepping in and taking Bradberry's job if they just say, hey, no, he's played himself out of our potential pay range. We can't afford to bring him back.
That's the problem. No one's arguing you can't keep everybody. And I don't know what James's situation is. Maybe he realizes what a great fit this is. Maybe he wants to go for another Super Bowl if the Eagles win a Super Bowl. Maybe he wants to chase a ring. Maybe he will take less. But if he just wants the big contract, he's going to be able to get more elsewhere. That's kind of the difficult decision. Now, maybe everybody's different, man. Everybody's different. Some people want as much money, and if you give them a quarter more, they're going to go to the person that gives them a quarter more. Some people want to chase that ring. That's why Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh are here right now, because they want to chase rings. They won. They've made enough money in their careers, and they don't care about the money aspect. Obviously, they get paid well, but not nearly as well as they're used to. So everybody's different. And I don't know where James is, but he had to take a pay cut this year to come here. I don't know if at this stage of his career, he'd be willing to take a pay cut again. It would be rare. And he's playing at a level where you almost have to assume there's a certain drop off. but certainly, um, certainly the Eagles don't have an obvious replacement in house. And I'm getting wordy, but I do want to mention this because I knew it was coming, but it's official, so we can say it. Brandon Graham is the Eagles' Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. So that's big news for Brandon. Congratulations to him.
And the way things have gone with the Eagles in weekly awards, they've been in the winner's circle a lot this year. So good luck to Brandon Graham with that. It's just to be nominated, be your team's nominee is an honor. And I would put Brandon Graham in the mix for all the guys in the NFL to win the Walter Payton Award. Quick response to one of our streamers. See, and now this guy's going to get mad at me because I've singled him out, kind of like our buddy Dominique Dabney, who we kind of pick on because he was the big Jaquiski Tart fan. Steven Jackson. Steven, thanks for watching. We love you. But you're simplifying things just a tad too much. We're talking about Bradberry. I think that the Eagles will go to significant lengths to try and keep him, or at least I think they should, because they don't have the ready-made answer. Now, they've got their draft picks to use this year. There'll be other free agent cornerbacks out there. Right now, the New Orleans pick is the number 5 pick in the draft after they choked that one away last night. I don't think there's a corner that deserves to go at number 5. The Eagles are sure as they'll never taken a corner that high in the draft. So if you lose Bradberry, you got to replace him. And here's Steven Jackson saying, well, if we lose Bradberry, we can pick up another great cornerback that we can rejuvenate their career just like we did this year. Oh, it's the Eagles. The Eagles are the only reason why Bradberry's having that great a year. It's the defensive coordinator, who most people in this town don't seem to like.
Yeah,
all of a sudden is the reason why James Bradberry is this great cornerback. Really? It's got nothing to do with Bradberry. The guy was a Pro Bowler with Carolina before he came here. Just look past that, right? He was a hell of a player that got released by the Giants because the previous administration had screwed up their cap. So the new administration came in and said, hey, we have to deal with this. We're screwed. We're cap strapped. We have to be able to get our draft pick signed. Who's the guy who we didn't sign? Somebody else signed. Wasn't our decision. Oh, Bradberry's making over $10 million. Yeah, that's the guy we're going to. And it was a mistake by the Giants. We talk about Shane, the new GM and the new coach, whatever. Oh, they could have gone another direction. They decided to release Bradberry, which with the way he's played here, I'd say Giants supposedly on the new right track. That was a mistake. Chalk that one up as a mistake. They should have held on to him. Johnny, just go out like picking apples off a tree.
Oh, yeah.
Just go pull another great cornerback. That's what he says here. Great cornerback. And put him on the Eagles so you can rejuvenate his career. Easy as pie. Everybody does that. Eagles do that all the time, right?
Everybody does it. 20. Yeah, it's ironic. And I don't want to pick on this person, but, so many people.
I don't either, but I do because he wrote it. If he types it, if he put it down there in print and he puts it on our screen, you got to kind of be held accountable for it.
If someone, I don't know, Pete dislikes Jonathan Gannon, but there's a lot of Eagles fans who dislike Jonathan Gannon. And I want to give all the credit to the organization, but they hate the defensive coordinator. James made the Pro Bowl in 2020. So it's not exactly, back in olden times. He was a Pro Bowl cornerback on the Giants. He is a perfect fit for what the Eagles run defensively. As I mentioned, one of the savviest cornerbacks I've ever seen. Really excels in quarters coverage, which is what the Eagles default to most of the time. Perfect fit, but he was ready-made. They didn't develop James Bradberry.
Quickie question for you on the other side of the ball. It's mostly the defense and how he's got to keep intact and do some good negotiating and see even if he can get these guys back in Eagle Green. Only 2 guys on the offense. One is Isaac Seumalo, who's getting a little long in the tooth, but Jason Kelsey's long in the tooth, and they just keep bringing him back and back and back and back and back because he's a Hall of Fame type player. I'm not calling an Isaac a Hall of Fame type player, but the whole age is a shouldn't in comparison should apply to the Eagles because they stick by offensive linemen if they're as good as they want them to be. And the other one's Miles Sanders in the backfield. Now, the Eagles have their stance on running back. The league has their stance on running backs and second contracts and how much money you put into that position. I like both Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell as situational substitution guys. I don't like either one of them as a lead back. So you're going to have to get a lead back somewhere, either in the draft and or sign someone else's free agent who you're just going to pay him a little bit less than Miles Sanders. You're going to take a shot on somebody who, for some reason, hasn't lived up to expectations, and just adding him to your mix is going to make them that much better. Out of those two, which is the priority for the Eagles, retaining Miles Sanders or Isaac Seumalo?
Isaac. A couple reasons. Stoutland loves Isaac, number one, so he'll be pounding the table. You do have to worry about Kelsey retiring, and you don't want that much upheaval on the interior of your offensive line. You don't want to lose two guys. And we'll see where Jason, he can change his mind tomorrow. He loves his teammates, but it's pretty clear that the original plan was this would be his last year. So we'll see how that shakes out. In Miles' case, I think what helps is there's so many free agent running backs. Starts with Josh Jacobs, and there's so many teams that don't want to pay running backs. So he's going to hit the open market, and he's not going to find a bunch of teams willing to give him what he probably wants. And if that's the case, that might help the Eagles. But nobody wants to pay running backs, and even the great running backs that got paid, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, teams get ripped for signing those contracts. And you have this new age of general managers, and they don't believe in it. They don't believe in paying running backs, bottom line. So I think all of that helps the Eagles get in the conversation. But I think Miles is going to get to free agency, and it comes down to the contract offer he's going to get elsewhere. And I don't think it's going to be huge. I will say that. So then you start what you're saying, Jody. Well, you got to have a lead back, and Kenny Gainwell's not a lead back, and Boston Scott's not a lead back. And Trey Sermon, hasn't proven a damn thing to this point. I'm not going to count on Trey Sermon. So if you got to pay somebody else, why not pay Miles Sanders? All depends on the contract.
All right. And again, when John and I talk about ages, Isaac Seumalo's playing at 29 this year. Much like the guys on the defense, Hargrave is 29. Yeah, we consider that old when you compare him to an Edwards, who's only a 26-year-old player. 3 years difference is a big difference in the NFL. The lifespan of an NFL player is not all that big to begin with. So when there's a 3-year difference in between,
are people complaining about that, Jody? Yeah, 30 is a dirty word in the NFL. That's not our fault. It's kind of silly, but
and I don't know when Isaac's birthday is, but he's playing next year at 30. He's 29 now. He's going to play next year at 30. So that does make Isaac Seumalo an older player in the National Football League. He's young compared to you and me, big guy. Yeah, he's a kid. He's a wet behind the ears kid. But in NFL age, when you become 30, you become, an older and veteran player.
Yeah. The sweet spot is your second contract with NFL GMs. You're generally 25, 26. There were some older rookies now because of COVID, but in general, the sweet spot is the second contract. And then to get that third contract, they start talking about age. And when you hit 30, you're going to hear those conversations with Javon Hargrave, who's having a career year from a sack standpoint. So that's what people like. That's what people pay. And you're going to hear the Eagles saying, well, he's 30. You're going to hear the whispers. He's starting to, how much longer can he play at this level? Yeah. Guys like Jason Kelsey proved, Lane Johnson proved, you can play pretty well in your 30s. But the league as a whole, it's not just the Eagles. Everybody, 30 is a dirty word.
There are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, John, your point is dead on accurate. It's a second contract. Now, it's even a little different there in that a first-round pick is a 5-year deal. As anything else is a 4-year deal. So even that 1 year factors in, but it usually does come down to how much are you going to get paid on that second contract after your rookie deal. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Appreciate you streaming in with us today here on Birds 365. The 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles is what we're talking about. We're going to do so next with our pal from down the shore, the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN Radio. Mike Gill up next on Birds 365.